So before we get started, I wanted to start off of why I'm making this video. First reason is I didn't have enough time to make anything else, so I figured this would be a good time to do this video. The second reason is this is going to be the video when I reference in the future saying, hey, go back and watch that video. This is this video. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the Freefly Ember. Again, it's a dream. It's literally like something I can't, like the power of the sun in the palm of my hands. Literally, you can put any analogy, whatever in there. I love this camera and I love using it. With that being said, I like making content for it as well, as you can tell. I like doing, obviously, stuff in Slo-Mo, but I also like going over specifications and things you could do with the camera. One of the things this cushion has pissed me off. One of the things I said early on was I wanted to do like a test with HLG and lighting with it and highlights and color and whatnot. As well as I wanted to do like a speed booster example with it, like a camera with the speed booster and without. Those are the two main things, but there's a bunch of other things you can do with this camera. With that being said, there's usually sometimes that somebody says, hey, what are you using with that camera? Or hey, what lens you're using, etc. In this video, I'm going to go over what I'm using with this camera. So way further down the line when you say, hey, what lens were you using? Or what type of lens? Or like what speed booster? Or what monitor? This is going to be the video where I go over everything. So I'd like to call this video the check out my accessories for the Ember / if you ever want to know what I'm using in another video for the Ember, this is the video to go back to video. With that being said, I think I said it well enough. Let's get started. So you'll notice that this is the Freefly Ember. Wow, look at it. It's pretty cool. So let's start with the main thing that you probably see here, the tilt-a-cage. So there's a reason why I didn't take this off. If you watched me unboxing this, putting this on, it wasn't fun. For the most part, this front part, the top and the side right here, and underneath, I think is great. I think it's a good design. Where we get to the back, where we get to our next two accessories, where you mount the cheese plate. Now, you may notice that there's these two back screws right here that you unscrew, and then like you can unfold this and you can access this back part or change whatever. See, the issue with that is no matter what cheese plate you mount here, these like nubs get in the way, and it's very annoying to deal with, if I'm being completely honest. Overall, I don't think you need the tilt-a-cage at all to essentially use the camera. The reason why I have it, even though I say it's annoying, is I think it does make things a little bit easier when it comes to just swapping stuff on with the NATO rail. With that being said, I'm not going to go over the cheese plate because mounting the cheese plate onto this required a bunch of custom holes being drilled into the back of the tilt-a-cage. We're going to get to the what's on the cheese plate, and that is the small rig V-mount battery plate adapter. This is something I used for the Wave, and I fell in love with it because of how great it is. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is it has a power switch, which some do, some don't. So essentially when you turn on the camera, you can also turn off the battery too as well. It's like another safety switch essentially. So before you turn on the camera, you can turn on the switch, then you can turn on the camera. So that's pretty much like the base of it, for me at least. So now let's go to some of the smaller stuff. And the first thing being that came with the camera is the power cable. It looks like kind of like a GPU cable, but this simply just gets plugged right in the back. And then I have mine down here on the side. I forgot to mention too, the reason why I love the this small rig V-mount plate is because there's a D-tap here, and there's also a D-tap over here. There's not one on the top or on the bottom. They're both on the side, which I think is very convenient when it comes to plugging stuff in. So we might as well go on to the next thing. What do you put on the V-mount battery mount? The battery itself. So right now I'm using a, what am I using? Oh yeah, the small rig 155, the model VB 155. Reason why I got this is not because I'm a small rig nut. It had a percentage, and you could see the percentage of what the battery is. And also, it's pretty compact. So there we go. The battery's on. Again, this makes the camera look a lot more bigger than it actually is, and it's kind of funny that the battery's this big. So let's go on to the next thing, which is how do you hold the camera? And for me, I use two grips. My first one is Tiny Tim here. This is one that goes on the right side for me. If you're wondering why I have Tiny Tim, there's two reasons. One, I got on an eBay special for $15. And the other reason is it just works. It's small, It's not the most comfortable handle, but it is a handle nonetheless. And it's also NATO rail. And it's still pretty solid, you know, can support all this, no issue. But if you notice, I have two handles, and that's where you got Big Bob over here. Now, I bought Big Bob more recently because I'm left-handed. So usually if I have to do something with one hand and I'm holding this camera handheld, I'll put this on the left side and essentially hold it because it's a lot more comfier and it's a bigger grip, and then I'll do whatever I need to do with my right hand. Yeah, so usually for me this is more of a comfort thing. The Freefly Wave was kind of similar with how this worked, but I think the button placement was a bit weird on that. But with this, I'll probably have to show that camera. When I'm recording handheld, I can stretch my thumb over to the record button, which is conveniently right here, so I can start recording and then stop recording, and it's just kind of like convenient. And I think that's kind of how they designed it. And I appreciate the way that they looked at it and using it in a handheld, because I feel like sometimes that's overlooked. All right, so we got 2 grips, a battery, and a cable, and a tilde cage. What's next? That is gonna be, I think, the lens mount. This is an E-mount, but as you know, I like to use a speed booster. This is the Viltrox, I think I got it right, NF to E mount. Now I'll get a lot of judgment as I put this on, and I'll explain why. There's a lot of, you know, hey, why are you using the Nikon mount? They're not that good. And you know what? I kind of agree with you. I personally think that the Canon lenses, especially some of the Cine lenses, are indeed a lot better. But when I first started doing this, when I say this, I meant like cameras and whatnot. As a whole, I started in high school. I started with a bunch of old Nikon lenses. And with those old Nikon lenses, I used them on my Sony cameras. And then I used them on the Kronos and the Wave. And now I use them on the Ember. So I was kind of just, in a way, grandfathered into it. But yes, you can use any speed booster. But for me, my accessory, or my go-to at the moment, is the Viltrox Nikon to E-mount. The next thing we want to plug in is kind of like a bundle of accessories, and I think I'm gonna have to actually zoom that camera out real quick, because this is where things get a little crazy in Caillou's house. It is my Ninja V5 Plus. So I got the Plus version. The way I have this mounted, there's a whole lot going on here. So I'll break it down. So the first thing, this is just I think I got this small rig grip. Again, grip really doesn't matter. Same for the handles. You can use any handles for any grip. It doesn't matter what handles you have, top, side, or whatever. But one of the things I will absolutely recommend is, I think this is, yes, this part right here. This is a Condor Blue shoe mount, like a shoe mount to a NATO rail. So here I can kind of hold this. You can kind of see it fits on the shoe and then it turns into a NATO rail. This is one of those things where, like, it's such a niche piece of filming equipment that I don't regret paying like the $20 for it. There's so many times where I need another NATO rail, and all these small rig cages and tilde cages, I only plan on putting one microphone and maybe I'll put like the Rode thing on it. I don't need 4 different shoe mounts for my camera cage. Yeah, so this I think is very useful, and as you can tell, I just have it so I can slide my grip on. There you go, I got my nice little grip, got my side handles, and then the last thing. I already have a monitor mount on this, and it's just a normal small rig one, you can get whatever. Then I have the last piece, which is my Ninja 5 Plus. You don't need the lunchbox. This is for like when I shoot with the Sony and I want to, you know, be fancy with it. With the small rig cage and the little hood thing. The hood part, honestly, anytime I feel like I shoot with this monitor, it's just nice to have a hood. And I feel like I never take it off anymore. But yeah, this is also just a NATO rail. And then I tighten this down. Yeah, see, look, it's too tall for the other camera, I'm sorry. And it's starting to get too tall for this, where I think it's going to have trouble focusing on whoever. And then the final things, first off, I have the HDMI cable, just the Condor Blue. I think it's 16 inches. I think that's like one of the shortest you can get. I didn't want something that long that would just get in the way, even though for as short as this is, I feel like it just gets in the way. And then finally, the last thing. to power the monitor. I used to use a D-tap to the power part of the Adamus part, which I know you can't see that, where you'd screw it in. It has the screw-in port. But I found out that like the camera would freak out every time I would try to turn it on. So I just conveniently found this 8-volt barrel jack, and I literally just plug it in the 8-volt on the small rig battery V-mount adapter, and then I plug it in up here. And there we go. There's one more thing I use with this camera, and that is, of course, the lenses. So for that, I have this. It's a case that I used to store the Chronos in, but because I don't have the Chronos anymore, it now stores all the lenses. I forget what they are, but they're all the Rokinon Sin lenses that you can get for the Nikon GF mount. So I have a 24, 35, 50, 85, and then one of my favorites, 135. I should mention too that a lot of this stuff isn't new. A lot of it, even when I first got it for the Wave or for the Chronos, a lot of this is actually pre-owned. And I took a gamble. I've had to fix 2 of these lenses actually to get them to focus right, which meant taking them apart and literally jerry-rigging a spring. The only new part that I got for this camera is the cage. Everything else is something I have owned before, honestly. That's pretty much an overview. This is my decked out, I guess you could say, Freefly Ember. I know that camera is having trouble seeing it for how tall everything is. This video is more or less going to be like a callback to when I, use this in a video and people want to be like, oh, what lenses is he using? Or, oh, what monitor, or battery, or cable, or grip. That's all this video. That's it for me. Please like and subscribe. People still say that, I guess. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.